Hey guys, it's Natalie. If you're new, welcome to my channel. I'd also like to welcome back all of my great subscribers. Thank you so much for stopping by. Today we're going to be making 3 projects and they all happen to be in circles. That wasn't done on purpose. And they're a little farmhouse, a little boho, a little bit of both. And we're also going to be dabbling in a little macrame. Don't be afraid, it's my first time doing macrame and it was fun and I know you're going to love it. So you newbies, if you like what you see, why don't you hit that little heart that's on the lower right hand corner of the screen. Also the notification bell set, this way YouTube will inform you when I'm here again. You can also follow me on Facebook and Instagram at Natalie Creates Crafts. Alright guys, I hope you're in a crafting mood like I am, and let's get started.
Our first project is the textured farmhouse clock. I used one clock I bought at Walmart a while back for about $4 that I wanted to repurpose, a large wired frame, scrapbooking paper, foam board, Cricut accessories, flat black vinyl, and clear Dollar Tree contact paper for transfer tape, light nautical rope, jute cord, Mod Podge, paint brushes, a ruler, a marker or pencil, glue gun, glue sticks, a box cutter, and scissors. I started by dismantling this clock. Like I said, I had bought it at Walmart a while back, but I knew I wanted to do something different with it. So it had these small screws in the back that I just removed. And then I just popped it out. It comes out fairly easy. I know I say that for a lot of stuff, but it really did come out easy. So I removed the hands and then pried off the mechanism in the back. That's what I'm going to use for this project. This I might use for another project in the future. I then took some foam board and my large round wired frame, and I made a mark on the second ring of the frame. And we're just going to use our utility knife and we're just going to cut that out. Just like this, if it were only true. Then I'm going to mark the inner circle of our frame. And then I'm going to take the dimensions of that circle. And then I took that measurement and that's what I'm going to use to cut out. But I did actually use my Cricut. You can cut it by hand, but I just thought this was just easier. And I just peeled off the excess scrapbook paper and I had a perfect circle. I then went back to Cricut Design Space where I made my clock face and I cut it out on my machine using the flat black vinyl. I then carefully peeled it and weeded it. There was a lot of weeding for this design. I then applied the clear contact paper, burnished it, and carefully lifted it. I took my scrapbooking paper and I carefully placed the decal right on top, burnished it, and took my time carefully peeling it back because I did not want to rip or accidentally rip my scrapbooking paper. Just take your time. Now I'm going to take my foam board and my clock face, and I'm going to take the Mod Podge and a paintbrush, and I'm going to apply one thin coat. Now you can use regular glue, but I would advise using a paintbrush to apply, so this way you don't get any wrinkles or bubbling when you put your scrapbook paper on top. I just then smoothed it out with my hands. Now we're going to take our wired frame and our light nautical rope, and I took one of the brackets and I applied a little bit of glue on the back where we're going to put the start of our rope. Then I'm going to flip it to the front, add a little bit more glue to the entire bracket, and then glue the nautical rope right to it. Once that dries, we're just going to wrap the rope around our frame, giving a little bit of space in between. I want to say maybe about a half an inch if you can, but just make sure you give it a little bit of space. I then proceeded to wrap it around till I got to the next brace, and then I applied a little bit of glue and attached the rope. You're going to do this for the entire frame. Just make sure you give it a little bit of space. I think for this project I used 3 of the ropes. Sorry guys, I actually think I used 4 ropes. Yeah, this nautical rope is a lot shorter than the traditional one. When you're all done wrapping it, it should look like this. Now we're going to take my favorite, yes, you guys know, the jute. I love that jute cord. I get made fun of all the time, but you know, what can I tell you? I love jute. So we're going to glue that to the back in between one of the spaces, and then we're going to wrap the jute between the nautical rope. I wrapped it about 2 times in between each one. Now, in hindsight, I guess maybe I shouldn't have glued the light nautical rope in between each brace, so this way it can give me a little bit more room, but I still like the way it turned out. When you get to the end, you're just going to anchor it in the back with a little bit of hot glue and cut off the excess. Now we're going to take our clock face and we're going to apply one good generous layer, if you will, of the hot glue, and then we're going to glue our wreath ring around it. I then took a pencil and just eyeballed the center and pierced it through to the back of the foam board and just reinforced the hole a little bit more from the back. Then I took the clock mechanism and I glued that to the back. Then I proceeded to add the hands, and I also added a little hanger in the back. I lost the footage, guys, sorry. And our clock is all done. I really loved the transformation. I love the texture, the look. I think it came out pretty cool. Our second project is the Rattan mirror. I used one Dollar Tree mirror, wired jute cord, regular jute cord, yeah, I know, shocker, cutting pliers, glue gun, and glue sticks. I started off by taking apart the mirror. It had little tabs in the back. Then I took my wired jute and I measured 4 inches, and I used my cutters. I love these DeWalt cutters, and I cut about 32 of them for this project. Then I took a small bottle of my Waverly chalk paint for the shape, and I just bent the wires around it. This way it formed like a half circle. So I proceeded to do that with all 32 pieces. Now I'm going to take the cardboard back of the mirror, move the hanger out of the way, and then I started gluing those half circles. So I started at the top. Now the jute tends to unravel around the wire, so just make sure you wrap it a little bit more before you glue it down. Then I glued another one on the bottom in the opposite direction. And then I glued one to the left. And then one to the right. I started getting a hang of it. I'm like, why am I just doing this twice? I just put 2 drops and just glued it right to the back. And then I filled the spaces in between, trying to make everything even. Then I took my next set of the half circles and I glued them right on top so that they would fit right in between the original half circles. That totaled 16. Now I'm going to take the remaining 16 and I'm going to glue those in between the first half circles I glued. Just to make them look overlapped and even. Wow, if it was only that quick to do a project. Editing is just a wonderful thing. And with that, before you know it, it was all done. I then took some hot glue and I glued around the edges just to cover up any sticking wires and also any frayed jute. Then I took a lighter and I just burnt off any of the little frays on the outside, but just be careful when using a flame. Now we're going to take our frame, our mirror frame, and yes, I'm taking my jute. I'm gonna glue it to the back on the inside, and then we're going to proceed to wrap the jute around the frame. Now, you know, I've had this jute for quite some time and I've done a ton of projects and it only cost $4, so I think I got my money's worth. We're then going to flip that to the back and add some glue to secure it. Then I'm going to add a little bit more hot glue on the top since I only glued it at the very beginning just to make it extra secure. And then just cut off the excess. We're then going to take the flame again just to burn off the edges, but please be careful when using a flame. Now we're going to flip the mirror to the front and then add a generous bead of hot glue on the cardboard around the mirror and glue our frame right to it. And now our second project is all done. I know we used jute, but I think this has a really cool rattan look. And it only costs about $3 to make. That's always the best part. The final project is the Boho macrame wall decor. I used the 3D wreath form in the 10-inch. We're going to use the largest one in the set, light nautical rope, cutting pliers, and scissors. I started by taking the 3D form apart. It's just held by the pins on the largest ring, but you could just easily squeeze them out. And of course, I'm going to save those other rings maybe for another project. Then I took my pliers and I just nipped off the metal pieces that were sticking out of the ring. Now we're going to take the light nautical rope and we're going to unravel it. This does come apart a lot easier than the other traditional nautical rope that they sell, the jute kind, but we're going to unravel all 3 of the pieces. Once that's done, we're going to then fold each strand in half, and then I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to cut them. Each bundle will give you 6 pieces, but for this project, we're going to be using 9. I then took a single strand, folded it in half, took my ring, and we're going to do what's called in the macrame world a lark's knot. So we're just going to thread the 2 pieces through the hoop and we're going to tighten it. Once that's nice and secure, I'm going to then pull it towards the bottom part of the hoop. I'm going to take one strand and put it underneath while the left strand. I'm going to hold it tight against the frame, loop it around once to the left, and then loop it again to the right, and then thread the end through that last loop. I'm not sure what this knot is called, but this is what we're going to use to secure the rope. We're going to do the same thing on the other end. So we're going to put it under the ring. I'm going to loop it through once, making sure it's tight. Then we're going to loop it through again, and then thread the end at the bottom of the loop. and just pulling it tight. Now we're going to take another piece and form that same lark's knot on the top by just threading through the two ends, pulling it tight to keep it secure. And then we're going to do the same thing on the other side of the center. Pull those two ends through and then secure it. Now we're going to take the middle of each strand that we looped on either side, and we're going to form a 4 and overlap it and then pull those two together. We're now going to be forming what's called a square knot. So now we're going to do the opposite. We're going to do a reverse 4 right there. Take the other piece over top, loop it through the bottom, and then pull it tight. This is what's called a square knot. Now this is my first time doing macrame, guys. It's pretty easy once you get a hang of it. So I would recommend you watching this over just to get, again, the hang of it. So I'm now going to anchor the bottom part just like we did with those loops, but I'm going to put it at an angle as shown. And you're going to do the same thing on the opposite side. Wow, this stuff is kind of hard to explain, but I'm just so glad that you're able to see what I'm doing. So then you're going to loop it through once, and then you're going to loop it again and thread the rope through and pull it. Now we're going to take our last two pieces, put it under and over, and then that piece we're going to put it under and over, and now we're going to do a reverse square knot. So the backwards 4, loop that one piece over and then under, and then pull it tight. And then we're going to reverse that, make it look like a 4, loop that over and under, and then pull it tight. And then we're going to secure either end or either side with that same knot that we did at the bottom. Loop it through and pull it tight. Put it under, loop it over. Yeah, you know what? I did do the opposite sides, but you still get the same knot. Under, through, and pull it tight. Now we're going to add 2 more pieces on either side. Put it under, and we're going to repeat the knot process. Guys, this is my first time doing macrame, and I know if I can do it, you guys can definitely do it. But just make sure you do the square knots on the reverse so you get the correct pattern. This was actually pretty fun. I've always wanted to attempt macrame, but I figured this was fairly simple. Even though it looks a little complicated, I think it's fairly simple, and I know that you guys can do this. I've seen a few patterns on Pinterest and on YouTube, and if you watch it a little bit, you can get the hang of it. And like I said, if I can do it, this lefty girl can do it, you guys can definitely do it. So you're going to proceed to do these square knots and anchor them, going from the outside to the inside. And I did 4 here, and we're going to do another 4. So you're going to repeat the process. Just go back and watch the video again and repeat it. Once that's all completed, this is what it should look like. Now it's time to unravel the bottom. Now these were a little hard because, you know, they're twisted, so I just took my flat iron and I used it just to take some of the kinks or those twirls out of the rope, and then I manually unraveled it. because I tried using a comb and it got pretty knotty. So you're just going to take 4 or 5 strands and just pry them apart. Personally, I think the way this looked better than trying to comb it. Now I put it to the side and I'm going to cut them, the little hairs at the bottom, at a diagonal. I just called them hairs, but you know what I mean. So we're just going to give it a little trim and we're going to cut it at a diagonal. Once I'm done with that side, I'm just going to flip it. I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to proceed to do it on the other side. Ideally, it would be nice if you could hang this on the wall. It would probably be easier to trim it, but for video purposes, I had to show you how it looked on the mat. Now I just want to show you how I hung it. So here's my nail on the wall and I just put it right in between the 2 ropes in the center, and that was it. Our first macrame project, guys. I love how this turned out, and I think I might give macrame another go, so beware. But of course, as always, you know, the best part of this project, that in materials it costs less than $3 and you just really can't beat that. Thanks so much for watching. Remember, you can also follow me on Facebook and Instagram at Nathalie Creates Crafts. I hope you subscribe so this way we'll be seeing each other next time. Until then, happy crafting, God bless, and take care.